Animal Crossing, a game about living in a virtual town full of adorable critters, has gone from humble beginnings to one of Nintendo's biggest franchises. This year, Nintendo will finally release Animal Crossing on the Switch, the first home console version of the series in over a decade. Now, while you might remember Animal Crossing from the GameCube, the true first version was for the Nintendo 64. Welcome back to Complete Inbox, the series where we take a look at old games by checking out the box and the manual and all the really cool stuff that they came with. Today, I am in Seattle, Washington, home of one of my favorite video game stores, Pink Gorilla. Pink Gorilla's co-owner, Kelsey Lewin, is a YouTuber, an historian, and a big game collector. And one of her favorite games is Animal Crossing. And she's got a copy of the very first version, which was released by Nintendo in Japan only for the Nintendo 64 in April 2001. I'm going to chat with Kelsey about the true origins of the series. So here it is, Animal Crossing for the Nintendo 64, or actually Animal Forest for the Nintendo 64, because that's what it was called in Japan. It still is, right?
Yep, so it's Animal Forest, or Doutsunomori in Japan, that's what it's still called today. So this is an N64 game, and it wasn't originally an N64 game either.
That's right.
It started out development as a Nintendo 64 disc drive game, which I know you've covered.
That's right, yeah, we talked about on another episode of Complete Inbox, the Nintendo 64 DD, magnetic disc drive for the Nintendo 64. It was released, but a lot of the games that were going to be released for it were moved onto, simple cartridges.
Right, this one has some pretty strange beginnings too, because it didn't start out looking like the Animal Crossing we know and love. So Katsuya Eguchi, who's the co-director of this game, he was inspired by Diablo.
Diablo.
Like with the demons and
really? Really?
Yep, exactly.
Not quite what you think.
No, not what you would think, but really what he liked about it was just the communication aspect.
Okay.
And so he started with kind of a more traditional feeling game. There were still animals there, but it was also dungeons. That kind of thing. So when they moved to the Nintendo 64 from the disc drive, they had to majorly scale down. And what they were left with was just the communication part. And it just became this town, and it's what Animal Crossing that we know and love is today.
One of the interesting things about this cartridge, I believe, is that because the 64 DD actually had an internal clock, they didn't have that in cartridges, so they had to put one in. So we can have this game, this world that kind of changes with the seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was kind of an expensive thing to do.
Yeah.
So they had to use an even smaller cartridge than the maximum size Nintendo cartridge so that they could afford to put a real-time clock in there. And it was kind of a new thing, being able to tell the time on a Nintendo 64.
So, what was the development situation like at Nintendo? Who was making this game?
Yeah, so it was Katsuya Eguchi and Hisashi Nogami who had worked together on Yoshi's Story on the Nintendo 64. They wrapped up that and they were like, okay, what are we going to make next? Let's try to make something different. We want to maybe appeal to a more broad kind of group of gamers, not your average gamers. Let's get dad and the housewives and everyone in the whole family involved.
Okay,
right?
all right.
The way that they did that was they very intentionally brought in as many female designers as they possibly could. We're still talking late 90s, early 2000s.
So
that's not
3
a lot.
people or what?
7.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's
a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
It was significant for the time.
That's great.
They did a lot of the clothing and the furniture and that sort of thing, and you can kind of see the female influence in there a little bit, and that's kind of what helps give it its broad appeal.
Right. So for an Animal Crossing collector, I mean, this has got to be one of the most desirable items to have the Nintendo 64 copy of the game. Kind of up there in the sort of the Holy Grail area, right? This is really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who really like Animal Crossing want this version, even if they don't speak or read Japanese.
Yeah.
I really like that it looks like a postcard. And you said it looks like a Japanese postcard too,
right, yeah. The idea of you'd go somewhere and write a postcard back to your family. It kind of gives you that initial impression. I noticed actually that your box has some graffiti on it.
It does.
Yeah, should we try to clean that off? Or
So my copy specifically is signed by Hisashi Nogami, who is one of the co-directors of the game, and he also decided to draw Bob, one of the villagers. He told me that is the villager that he feels most resembles him. And Bob is kind of, if you know Animal Crossing, he's kind of a lazy, goofy villager.
Interesting, yeah.
Well, and then the other thing on this box is that it says communication game at the bottom. I didn't really think communication game was a genre. It's not, not action adventure, not RPG, but that's the kind of thing that when they were making this game, they're like, well, we gotta put something on the box,
Yep,
right?
yep. Nintendo loves to make things that are uncategorizable, and this was one of them. What I think is interesting is the back of the box here. It really talks about, like, this is how they tried to sell Animal Crossing to people. These are the 3 bullet point features that they pull out: events, letters, and room. And this is how they described Animal Crossing. It was like, this game has events, like on Christmas, you'll have Christmas presents. This game has letters. You get to write letters to the other townspeople, and you get to decorate your room and furnish it the way that you want to.
This sounds boring.
It sounds super boring.
but it's
like,
not, because, you know, Animal Crossing is one of those games, and this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but, like, you can't really define it by just the things you do in the game.
Right.
It's kind of the overall feeling and the conversations that come out of it and the relationships you build and the friends you make, and, you know, and that's cheesy, but...
Yeah. They had to try. They had to try to distill it down into some bullet points to see if they could get people to buy it. And in fact, people did, because the series became very popular.
That's right.
Yeah. So as an Animal Crossing fan, what are you missing out on if you didn't play this version?
So thankfully, kind of nothing. So this is pretty much just a watered down version of what you played on the GameCube. Really, it's just missing stuff. So this one doesn't have any Able sisters, so there's no pattern designing. You can't make your own clothes or your own umbrellas. And it's also missing the museums. There's no Blathers. You can still find the dinosaur fossils, but they only go in your house. You know.
And when you play the GameCube version, I mean, you are basically playing this game at a higher resolution with more features.
Yeah.
Even though it's a small game in terms of file size, it was a huge localization task when Nintendo of America decided, okay, well, let's bring the GameCube version over here.
Right. It was enormous because it wasn't just text, and there's a ton of text in the game. There was all of this Japanese influence in there. So it's kind of more like a day in the life of a Japanese person rather than an American person. And so they needed to change things to make things more familiar to the American audience. So they had to do things like add Groundhog's Day and, you know, get rid of maybe some of the other weird furniture items that they wouldn't be familiar with, things from like ancient Japan.
Yeah, and a lot of the like the village is kind of centered around a little shrine in the Japanese version, right?
That's right. So in Animal Forest, what you have kind of in the middle of the town is a bell shrine. You know, people can leave offerings and that sort of thing. And that's not really, we're not shrine people here in the US,
not
right?
so much,
Not something we really do, but we do have wishing wells.
Ah, okay.
It's close enough. So
Right,
that's kind of
exactly.
that's what they replaced it with.
Yep. So
instead.
just figuring out something that's similar, does the similar gameplay purpose, but is just more culturally appropriate.
Exactly. That was kind of the entirety of the localization process.
Thanks so much to Kelsey for sharing that awesome piece of Animal Crossing history with us. You can check out her YouTube channel for more of her great insight into gaming history. And of course, if you are in Seattle, make sure to come to Pink Gorilla, where you can find all of these awesome video games, some of them complete in box. Like this one, or that one, or this one. Oh, I need that one. This one here.